Miss Wanda has once again found herself at the center of Huntsville's latest storm. This time, her focus is not on her daughter, Letitia, or even on her own drama, but on none other than Melody Shari. According to Wanda, Melody is not the victim or the peacemaker that some viewers see her as. In Wanda's words, Melody is the real snake of love and marriage, Huntsville. Those are strong words, but if there's one thing Wanda never does, it's hold back. She said that she told Kimmy directly that Melody was the real problem behind the scenes. Wanda made it clear that she never liked how Kimmy stayed friendly with Melody even after the fallout between Melody and the Scotts. To Wanda, that friendship was a betrayal. The tension between Melody and the Scotts has been around since the early seasons of Love and Marriage, Huntsville. Back then, when things between Melody and Letitia started going downhill, Wanda didn't like how Kimmy stayed neutral. In Wanda's mind, family should stick together no matter what. So, when Kimmy continued to be cordial with Melody, Wanda saw it as crossing the line. She believed that Kimmy's loyalty should have been to Letitia and Marceau, not to Melody. Wanda has made that point many times, but this time she took it further by labeling Melody as the snake who divided everyone. It's not surprising that Wanda would think that way. She has always been protective of her daughter and her family, even if her methods are messy. Wanda believes that Melody caused problems between the couples, and she often accuses Melody of stirring the pot behind the scenes. Wanda is convinced that Melody's calm and confident public image hides a more manipulative side. According to her, Melody is the one who plays innocent while setting traps for others. Now, when Wanda mentioned this on her live, she also hinted that the Scotts didn't like Melody's connection to Kimmy either. She said that Maurice didn't care for it, and that Marceau had his own opinions. That statement caught people's attention, because it suggests that the entire Scott family was uncomfortable with any closeness between Kimmy and Melody. Wanda even claimed that the Scotts had a conversation with Kimmy, where they supposedly made it clear that she needed to be loyal to family first. She described it as Kimmy being forced to sign something. That made her loyal to Letitia and Marceau. Whether that's true or just Wanda's storytelling, it shows how deep these divisions run. Longtime fans of the show will remember that Kimmy once said something about Letitia that didn't sit well with the family. Kimmy said that if it weren't for their family ties, she probably wouldn't have much to do with Letitia. She described their connection as something that only existed because of marriage, not true friendship. That was a rare moment of honesty from Kimmy, and it gave viewers a glimpse of how she really felt. At the time, a lot of people respected Kimmy for speaking her mind. She was seen as the voice of reason, someone who didn't just take sides blindly. But now, Wanda is using that history to make her point. She's saying that Kimmy changed after that and became more loyal to the Scotts, stepping away from Melody. In Wanda's view, that was how things were supposed to be. She never wanted Kimmy to be close to Melody, because she saw Melody as the outsider who threatened her family's unity. Wanda sees the world in terms of loyalty lines. To her, if you're with Letitia, you can't be with Melody. This is where things get complicated, because while Wanda is calling Melody a snake, many viewers remember all the times Melody tried to be friendly with the group. She was the one who kept showing up to events, trying to keep the peace, and still facing hostility from people she once considered friends. Melody's fans would argue that she was never the snake. She was surrounded by them. But Wanda doesn't see it that way. From her point of view, Melody was never going to have support on Love and Marriage, Huntsville. Wanda believes that Melody created her own isolation through her actions. If we look back over the seasons, Melody did try to keep relationships with certain people, even after everything with Martel fell apart. She tried to be cool with Kimmy. She tried to have a working relationship with Marceau and Letitia. But every attempt seemed to turn sour. According to Wanda, that's because Melody couldn't help but stir things up. Wanda said that Melody always wanted to appear like she was above everyone, like she was smarter or more successful. And for someone like Wanda, who values loyalty and humility, that didn't sit right. Wanda has always been outspoken, but calling Melody a snake crosses into a deeper accusation. She's basically saying that Melody manipulates people and situations for her own benefit. And to be fair, in Huntsville, everyone has played the game at some point. But what makes Wanda's words sting more is that she's putting that label on someone who was once considered the heart of the show. When Wanda talks about snakes in the grass, she means people who pretend to be friendly while secretly working against others. She says that Melody has divided the cast by turning people against each other, by playing the victim, and by acting like she's above the drama while still being part of it. In Wanda's world, that's the definition of a snake. But we also have to remember that Wanda has her own history of stirring up drama. Over the years, she's argued with almost everyone on the show. Her live videos often cause chaos. Sometimes she says things that make situations worse. Viewers have seen her cross boundaries, insult cast members, and even show up to events uninvited. So, when Wanda calls someone else a snake, it's hard for some people to take her seriously. It becomes a question of credibility. Still, Wanda's words carry weight because they reflect the ongoing tension between the old alliances and the new ones forming in Huntsville. The cast has been divided for years. There's the Scott family on one side, and Melody with her small circle of supporters on the other. And even though Melody has built her own brand and moved forward, the hurt feelings from the past still linger. Wanda's statement just reopens old wounds. If we really think about it, Wanda's comments show the power dynamics within the group. The Scotts are a united front, even with their internal issues. They stand together in public. Melody, on the other hand, has had to stand alone more often than not. When she first left Martel, she was isolated. People whispered, they judged, and they doubted her success. She had to rebuild from scratch. So from Melody's side, being called a snake might feel like another attempt to discredit her hard work and independence. Over time, Melody has made it clear that she doesn't want to go back and forth with people who constantly bring her name up. She's tried to focus on her children, her business, and her peace. But no matter how far she goes, someone from Huntsville always finds a way to drag her name back into the conversation. This time, it's Wanda doing the dragging. When Wanda talks, it's never just about one situation. She mixes family history, personal feelings, and long-held grudges. That's what makes her comments so explosive. She compared this situation to her own family growing up, saying how relatives sometimes pit people against each other, telling one person they owe more loyalty to their sister than to their cousin. In her mind, that's exactly what happened with Kimmy and Melody. Family versus outsider. And to Wanda, Melody will always be the outsider. What's interesting, though, is that while Wanda is calling Melody a snake, she doesn't seem to notice how the same could be said about others in the group. The Scotts have not always been innocent. There have been rumors, secrets, and behind-the-scenes shade for years. Everyone has played the game. But Wanda is choosing to single out Melody as the problem. Perhaps because she's still seen as the biggest name, the face of the show, and the one who shines the most. It's also worth noting that Wanda has a history of trying to control narratives. Whenever the spotlight shifts away from her or her daughter, she tends to say something shocking to bring attention back. And that's exactly what this feels like. By calling Melody a snake, she ensures that people start talking about her again. It's not just about Melody. It's about Wanda staying relevant in the conversation. For Kimmy, this whole thing probably feels uncomfortable. She's already had to walk a fine line between the Scots and Melody for years. She's often tried to stay neutral, but that neutrality has cost her. Both sides have accused her of being too loyal to the other. When Wanda said she told Kimmy that Melody was the real snake, it was like forcing Kimmy to pick a side again. And after everything Kimmy has been through personally, especially with her health and rebuilding her strength, the last thing she needs is to be pulled back into old drama. Melody, on the other hand, has not directly responded to Wanda's recent comments. But her silence speaks volumes. It shows that she's learned to protect her peace and not give energy to every accusation thrown her way. For Melody, her journey has been about growth and separation from toxic circles. She's had to rebuild trust, confidence, and stability. Being called a snake is just another reminder that some people will never see her for who she really is. They'll always see her through the lens of their own insecurities and grudges. But Wanda's claim also brings up a bigger question. Who really are the snakes in Huntsville? Because if we look closely, the pattern of backstabbing, manipulation, and gossip is not limited to one person. Everyone on that show has said something behind someone's back. Everyone has played both sides. So why single out Melody? Maybe because she's no longer under their control. When people can't control you, they often try to label you. And in this case, snake is just Wanda's label for someone she can't manipulate. It's also ironic, because Wanda herself has been accused of being the biggest instigator on the show. She's been called out for spreading rumors, for disrespecting people, and for taking things too far. Many fans have even said that Wanda is the reason some relationships on the show can't heal. So, when she calls someone else sneaky or divisive, it feels like projection. It's easier to call someone else the problem than to admit your own part in the chaos. Still, there's a truth hidden beneath Wanda's harsh words. The relationships in Huntsville are broken. Trust is gone. People smile in each other's faces while plotting behind closed doors. The cast members have all been hurt, and they all carry resentment. Wanda's words may be cruel, but they reflect a larger truth. No one in that circle is truly innocent. Everyone has been bitten, and everyone has bitten back. Melody's supporters often say that she doesn't need to explain herself anymore. They see her as the one who got out of a toxic environment, built something new, and refused to look back. They admire her strength and grace. But Wanda's comments remind everyone that in Huntsville, the past never stays buried. The old alliances and old pain always find their way back to the surface. At this point, it's not even about who's right or wrong. It's about who's willing to move forward and who's still holding on to bitterness. Wanda has made it clear that she's not letting go of her feelings about Melody anytime soon. She feels justified in calling Melody out. But the irony is, every time Wanda goes live and says these things, she just proves why Melody distanced herself in the first place. Melody wanted peace, and Wanda thrives on chaos. Those two energies were never going to mix. So now, the Huntsville circle is once again divided. On one side, you have Wanda and the Scots defending their version of loyalty. On the other side, you have Melody, standing alone, but standing strong. The question isn't whether Melody is a snake. The real question is whether Wanda's constant need to create division is keeping everyone from healing. At this point, the label doesn't matter. Whether people see Melody as a snake or a survivor, she has become the symbol of independence in a world full of alliances. She's no longer trying to prove herself to people who never respected her in the first place. And maybe that's what really bothers Wanda. Maybe Wanda can't handle seeing someone she once looked down on rise above the mess. As for Kimmy, she'll probably continue trying to keep the peace. Though it's clear that she's tired of being caught in the middle. The Scots will stay united publicly, and Wanda will keep saying whatever she wants. But the viewers can see through all of it. They know that every time Wanda opens her mouth about Melody, it's less about exposing the truth, and more about trying to hold on to a storyline. In the end, Wanda calling Melody a snake says more about Wanda than it does about Melody. It shows how deep her resentment goes, and how unwilling she is to move on. It also shows that even after all these seasons, the drama in Huntsville still comes down to the same old patterns: loyalty, jealousy, and control. Everyone wants to be the hero, but no one wants to admit when they're the villain. Melody may have made mistakes, but she's also evolved. Wanda, on the other hand, still seems stuck in the same cycle, stirring up trouble, pointing fingers, and refusing to see her own reflection in the chaos. The Scots may keep defending her because she's family, but at some point, even family has to admit when someone has gone too far. For now, Wanda has the floor. She's made her claim. She's called Melody the Snake of Huntsville. But time will tell who the real snakes are, because history has shown that the people who shout the loudest often have the most to hide. Melody has learned to let her actions speak, and maybe that's the biggest difference between her and Wanda. One uses her voice to build, the other uses hers to destroy. So as Huntsville continues to buzz over Wanda's latest words, one thing remains clear. The drama may fade, but the wounds run deep. And no matter how many times people try to rewrite the story, the truth always finds its way to the surface. Wanda can call Melody a snake all she wants, but in the end, the only thing she's really revealing is her own inability to let go of the past.